Feel the high-voltage energy of a story that refused to be silenced by the passing of time. We bring you the electric reality of life's most intense confrontations, wrapped in a cinematic glow that never fades. Hit that subscribe button now and power up your imagination with us.
I need to check the used names list and then write this story. Names already used: Diane, Derek, Maya, Carol, Nora, Brianna, Mr. Holt, Sandra, Marcus, Vanessa, Rosalie, Lily, Patrice, Trevor, Gwendolyn, Robert, Gerald, Pepper, Hannah, Eliuse, Fiona. I was sitting in a hospital waiting room in Phoenix when my phone died. That's the detail I keep coming back to. Not the surgery, not the 3 months I spent mostly horizontal watching the same ceiling tiles and the same bad daytime TV. The phone. Because if my phone hadn't died that Tuesday morning, I might have seen the alert 2 hours earlier, and maybe I could have stopped it. But I didn't, and I didn't, and here we are. Let me back up. My name is Claire. I'm 31 years old, and up until about 14 months ago, I thought I had a pretty good handle on my life. I owned a condo in Austin, a real one, not some closet they relabeled as a studio, that I had bought by myself at 28, which honestly felt like the greatest thing I had ever done. $42,000 down. Saved over 4 years of working as a claims investigator for a mid-size insurance company. I knew fraud. I knew paper trails. I knew how people lie on documents and what they look like when they think no one is paying attention. That's important. Remember that part. The condo was worth about $390,000 when I bought it. By the time everything happened, the market had pushed it closer to $470,000. 2 bedrooms, a balcony that got actual morning sun, parking spot included. I loved that place more than I have loved most people. My sister is 4 years older than me. I'll call her my sister because that's what she is, biologically, legally, on every piece of paper that exists. Whether she is my sister in any meaningful sense, I don't know anymore. I genuinely do not know. She had been struggling for a while. I knew that. Her marriage ended badly 3 years before all this happened, and she had moved back to our hometown in Lubbock, and she was working a job she hated at a logistics company, and she had 2 kids who needed things that cost money. I felt for her. I did. I sent money when she asked, which was more often than I want to admit out loud. I co-signed on a car loan because she said she couldn't get anywhere without one. I lent her $6,000 in the spring of the year before everything collapsed, and she paid back maybe $900 of it before the subject quietly stopped coming up. She was family. That's what I told myself every time the number got a little higher and the payback got a little slower. She was family. People help family. Then in January, I found out I had a tumor in my abdomen. It wasn't cancer. I need to say that because the word tumor makes people spiral, and I don't want you to spiral. It was a large, benign mass that had apparently been growing for a while and had gotten to the point where it was pressing on things it shouldn't be pressing on and needed to come out. The surgery was complicated enough that my doctor in Austin referred me to a specialist at a hospital in Phoenix. 6-hour procedure. Recovery would be slow. I would need to stay in Phoenix for several weeks post-op, staying at a short-term rental near the hospital, doing follow-up appointments, physical therapy, the whole production. I called my sister before I left. I told her everything. She cried on the phone. She said she was so scared for me. She said she wished she could come out. But the kids, the kids. I told her it was okay. I told her it was okay. I told her to not worry. I asked her one thing. I had a plumber scheduled to come to my condo the week after my surgery for a leak under the kitchen sink. Nothing major, but the building management had flagged it, and I needed to be there or have someone there to let him in. I asked her if she could drive down from Lubbock and handle it. Austin to Lubbock is about 5.5 hours. I know that's a lot to ask. I offered to pay for gas, a hotel night, whatever she needed. She said yes. Of course she said yes. I'm your sister. I flew to Phoenix on February 3rd. Surgery was February 7th. I spent the next 3 weeks in a haze of painkillers and compression socks and very small victories, like making it to the bathroom without assistance and then making it to the end of the hallway. And then, eventually, making it outside to sit in a chair in the courtyard for 20 minutes in the sun. My sister texted regularly at first. How are you feeling? Praying for you. The kids drew you something. I'll mail it. I texted back when I had the energy, which wasn't always. Some days I just sent a thumbs up. She didn't seem offended. In week 5, the texts got a little shorter, a little further apart. I didn't think much of it. I was still pretty focused on just getting through each day. My phone died on a Tuesday morning in week 7. I had forgotten to charge it overnight and it went dark around 10 a.m. I didn't find my charger until after lunch, and when the screen finally came back on, I had a voicemail from a number I didn't recognize, 2 missed calls from my building's property management company, and a text from my building manager that said, "Hi Claire. We've been trying to reach you regarding some recent activity on your unit. Please call us as soon as possible." I stared at that text for a long moment. I called them back. The property manager's name was Jeff, and he had the specific tone of someone who has had to deliver bad news before and has not entirely made peace with it. He told me that 2 weeks prior, a notary had come to the building with a woman who identified herself as my authorized representative. She had a power of attorney document. She had signed paperwork. She had handed over a key. Handed over a key to whom? I asked. There had been a private sale, he told me. The unit had been transferred. The new owner had already taken possession. I sat down on the edge of the rental bed in Phoenix and I said, very quietly, I didn't sell my condo. There was a pause. "Ms. Claire," Jeff said carefully, "the paperwork had your name on it. The power of attorney document named my sister as my legal representative for real estate transactions. It had what appeared to be my signature. It had a notary stamp. It had been filed, processed, and accepted without a single person calling the actual owner, me, to verify any of it. I did not cry. I want to be very clear about that. I did not cry. I hung up with Jeff, and I sat very still for about 4 minutes, and then I opened my laptop and started working. This is the part where that detail I mentioned. I knew fraud, I knew paper trails, becomes relevant. My job at the insurance company was specifically to investigate suspicious claims. I had spent 6 years looking at documents that were supposed to be real and finding the places where they weren't. A forged signature under magnification has specific characteristics. A notarized document that was actually notarized looks different from one where someone just found a stamp. Power of attorney filings have a paper trail that runs through county records, and county records are public, and I knew exactly how to pull them. I pulled them. The document had been filed 8 days after I left for Phoenix. The notary stamp was real. The notary was a woman who worked part-time out of a UPS store in Lubbock, and I would later learn she had been paid $300 cash to stamp a document without properly verifying the identity of the person signing it, which is a crime, by the way, in case anyone was wondering. The power of attorney gave my sister broad authority to act on my behalf in real property transactions, and she had wasted no time using it. The sale had gone through at $455,000. My condo. Sold. While I was recovering from abdominal surgery in another state, the buyer was a man I had never heard of, an investor who had paid cash and moved quickly, because that's what cash investors do. They move quickly and ask fewer questions. He had presumably been given the key and had presumably already had a locksmith change the locks because that's what new owners do. I sat with all of that for the rest of that day. I ordered food I didn't eat. I watched the ceiling. I went through every document I had been able to access and organized them into a folder on my desktop, neatly labeled, the way I do at work. Then I called my sister. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey," she said. "Bright. Easy. How are you feeling? Are you eating okay? I need you to tell me," I said, "what you did with my condo." The silence that followed lasted approximately 5 seconds. I counted. "What do you mean?" she said finally. "I have the county filing. I have the power of attorney document. I have the sale records. I have the notary's name and address. I need you to tell me what you did with my condo and what you did with $455,000. Another silence. Claire. Her voice had changed. Flatter now. Carefully controlled. "I can fix this. You can fix $455,000. I had a situation. I had a really bad situation and I panicked and the kids there were things I couldn't cover and I thought I could flip it. I thought I could put the money into something and turn it around and pay you back before you even got home and you thought I would never find out." She didn't answer that. "Where is the money?" I asked. Here is the part that took me a moment to fully process. It was gone. Not mostly gone. Not partially gone. Gone. She had put $200,000 into a real estate investment scheme, not a legitimate fund, an actual scheme, the kind with a slick website and a guy in a nice suit who disappears when the checks stop clearing. She had paid off $80,000 in personal debt. She had spent approximately $40,000 on what she described when I pressed her as getting back on her feet, which included, I would later discover, a used SUV, a vacation to Destin with her new boyfriend, and new furniture for her apartment. The remaining roughly $135,000 was in a bank account that her attorney would eventually argue she had earmarked for repayment, which, I'll let you sit with that. Come home, she told me. Come home and we'll talk about this in person. The family can help figure it out. The family. I had not told our parents yet. That was intentional. I knew that if I called our parents before I had all my documents in order, the conversation would immediately become about feelings and about their shock and about how could this happen, and I needed the conversation to stay focused on facts. I needed evidence. I needed a lawyer. I needed a plan. I called a real estate attorney in Austin that same night. She had a paralegal reach out to the county clerk's office the next morning. She confirmed what I already knew. The sale had gone through. The title had transferred, and unwinding it would require proving fraud, which, given that the power of attorney was forged, we could do, but it would take time and it would require involving law enforcement. I called the Austin Police Department. I filed a report. The detective I spoke with was a tired-sounding woman who had clearly seen a lot, but even she paused when I described the situation. Your sister forged a power of attorney while you were recovering from surgery, she said. Yes. And sold your condo. Yes. Okay, she said, and I could hear her typing. I finally called my parents when I had everything organized. I called them on a Sunday evening, and I laid it out clearly and calmly, the way I would present findings to an insurance client. Here is what happened. Here is the documentation. Here is the timeline. My mother started crying. My father said he was sure there was an explanation. I just gave you the explanation, I said. She's been under so much pressure, my mother said. The divorce, the kids, the job, you know how hard it's been for her. I knew how hard it had been for her. I had lent her $6,000. I had co-signed her car loan. I had sent Christmas money for the kids every year. I knew exactly how hard it had been for her. She forged my signature, I said, on a legal document, while I was in the hospital. There was a very long pause. Maybe she thought you'd understand, my father said. I hung up. Here's something I want to tell you about the weeks that followed, because I think people sometimes imagine that legal proceedings are fast and dramatic. They are not. They are slow and expensive and full of paperwork, which, given my profession, I was at least equipped to handle. My attorney filed a civil suit. The police investigation moved forward. The notary cooperated almost immediately once she understood the scope of what she had participated in. She had known something felt wrong, she told the detective, but the woman who came in had seemed so calm and confident, and the money was cash, and she had told herself it was probably fine. The real estate investor who had bought my condo was, genuinely, an innocent party. He had bought the unit in good faith, and I want to be clear that I hold no anger toward him. His attorney and my attorney spent several weeks negotiating, and ultimately the resolution involved title insurance. The policy he had taken out covered fraudulent conveyance, which meant the insurance covered his loss, not me demanding he pay again for something he had already bought. He got his money back from the title insurer. The title transferred back to me. It took 4 months, and I cannot tell you the legal fees involved without my eye twitching. But eventually, my condo was mine again. My sister was arrested in April. The charges were forgery, fraud, and theft over $150,000, which in Texas carries serious prison time. Her attorney pushed for a plea deal. As of the last communication I had with anyone involved in the criminal case, the negotiations were ongoing. I do not know the final outcome because I made the decision to stop tracking it. I have given my testimony. I have given my documents. I am done spending emotional energy on her legal situation. My parents called me when she was arrested. My mother said she hoped I was happy. My father said that the family would never recover from this. I listened to both of them, and then I said, I didn't do this to the family. She did. And I meant it, and I still mean it, and I hung up again. I went back to Austin in late April. My building manager, Jeff, met me at the door with what I can only describe as the most professionally uncomfortable expression I have ever seen on a human being. He apologized. I told him the policies had gaps. A notarized POA should have triggered a direct verification call to the owner of record. Full stop. and that he might want to raise that with the building's legal team. He nodded a lot. I got my key. I stood in the middle of my living room for a minute. The investor had kept it clean. I'll give him that. Different arrangement on the couch. A few scuff marks on the kitchen floor I didn't remember. My balcony, same eastern exposure, same morning sun. I made coffee. I sat on the balcony. A pigeon landed on the railing, looked at me with deep suspicion, and left. I did not feel triumphant. I want to say that because I think people expect triumph at the end of a story like this, and I understand why, but standing in a space that had been taken from you and returned to you is not like winning. It is more like exhaling after holding your breath for so long that you forgot you were holding it. It is relief, and relief is quieter than triumph. There are things I know now that I did not know at 28 when I signed those mortgage papers and took that key for the first time. I know that love for someone does not obligate you to absorb whatever they do to you. I know that she was under pressure is not a reason. Pressure is not a get-out-of-forgery-free card. I know that the people who say family first, the loudest, are sometimes the people using that phrase to pressure you into tolerating things no family member should ever do to another. I know that my sister did not panic and make one bad decision. She planned this. She got a notary. She filed documents. She opened accounts. She watched my texts come in from Phoenix. How are you feeling? Praying for you. And she responded to them while the money was already moving. I know that. And I know this. I work in fraud investigation. I have spent 6 years learning how to find the thing people tried to hide, how to follow money through layers of misdirection, how to build a case from a paper trail. My sister knew that about me. She had heard me talk about my job at Thanksgiving tables and Sunday dinners for years. She thought she could do it anyway. I don't know what to do with that, honestly. I have thought about it a lot. The only thing I come back to is this. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew exactly what she was risking. And she decided that $455,000 was worth more than her sister. That's her answer, and I have mine. The car loan I co-signed, I had my attorney send a letter notifying the lender of the criminal conviction. Whatever happens with that is no longer my concern. The $6,000 I lent her, I included it in the civil suit. Her attorney will deal with it. The kids' Christmas gifts, I still send them. They didn't choose this. They didn't do anything. They are children and they are not responsible for what their mother did, and I will not punish them for it. I send the gifts directly to their school counselor now, who passes them along. It is not a perfect solution, but it is the one that lets me sleep. My parents and I have not spoken since April. I don't know if we will. I leave that door open in the abstract sense. Not closed, not locked, just not currently in use. If they ever get to a place where they can say, plainly, what she did was wrong and you did not deserve it, I am willing to have a conversation. I am not holding my breath. I got a promotion at work last month. Senior investigator. My manager said I had an instinct for the work that was hard to teach. I said, thank you. I did not explain that instincts sometimes come from experience. My condo's estimated value is up to $490,000 now. Morning sun still hits the balcony at 7:15. The pigeon has been back twice. I think we have reached a détente. My name is Claire. I am 31 years old. I lost my home and I got it back, and I learned something in the process that I could not have learned any other way. The person who betrays you was always who they were. You just didn't know it yet. Now I do. People always want to know if I regret pressing charges. Family members, old friends, even a coworker once. They phrase it different ways, but they're all asking the same thing. Was it worth it? Was burning that bridge worth getting the condo back? I don't think they're asking the right question. The bridge didn't burn because I pressed charges. It burned years earlier, quietly, in all the small moments I told myself were fine. Every time I wired money and didn't hear back. Every time I co-signed something and convinced myself this was just what you do for family. Every time I swallowed the discomfort because the alternative, admitting what I was actually dealing with, felt too heavy to carry. I was building a relationship on a foundation that had already cracked, and I kept pouring more concrete on top and calling it solid. What my sister did to me wasn't a moment of panic. I know that now. It was the logical end of a pattern. She had learned, slowly and through years of small tests, that I would absorb whatever she needed me to absorb, that I would explain it away, that my love for her was, functionally, unconditional, which meant it cost her nothing, and something that costs nothing gets treated accordingly. That's not fate. That's not luck running out. That's cause and effect, plain and simple. The choices she made over years created a version of herself that was capable of filing a forged power of attorney while I was in a hospital bed 3 states away. And the choices I made, to keep giving, to keep explaining, to keep the peace, created a situation where she believed she could get away with it. I'm not saying I caused this. I want to be clear about that. She made her choices and I made mine, and they are not the same choices. But I did participate in the conditions that made it possible, and sitting with it honestly, not to punish myself, just to actually see it, is the only thing that made me feel like I could move forward without carrying the same blind spot into the next decade of my life. The intelligence I'm most proud of isn't the part where I pulled the county records and identified the forged notary stamp. That's professional skill. I've had 6 years of practice. What took actual work was the intelligence of being honest with myself about what I had been willing to ignore and why, and what it had cost me. And deciding that going forward I would rather see clearly and be uncomfortable than stay comfortable and stay blind. The resilience wasn't in not falling apart. I did fall apart, a little, in a rental room in Phoenix with untouched takeout getting cold on the desk. Resilience is getting up the next morning anyway and opening the laptop. It's filing the police report when your hands are shaking. It's sending Christmas presents to kids who didn't do anything wrong even when the situation makes you want to close every door and lock it, and the ethics of it. The part that keeps me steady when I wonder if I was too hard, too cold, too unforgiving, is simple. She knew what she was doing was wrong. She did it anyway. She made her calculation and I made mine. Mine just involved a lawyer. My condo is mine. The morning sun still hits the balcony at 7:15. I made coffee today and drank it outside, and the city was just the city, ordinary and indifferent and exactly where I needed to be. I am Claire. I am 31 years old, and I am not the person my sister counted on me to be anymore. That's not a loss. That's the whole point.